If we're going to control feathertop Rhodes grass in fallow with herbicides, using herbicides, we need to think about, importantly, the choice of herbicide that we're going to use. A lot of growers will tend to want to reach for the glyphosate as their first point of call for fallow herbicides. What we know from many trials is glyphosate's relatively ineffective on feathertop Rhodes grass. And then on top of that, with the use of glyphosate in fallow, we've created a lot of populations which also have glyphosate resistance as well. So we can almost forget about using glyphosate as our mainstay for feathertop Rhodes grass control in fallow. So if we've put glyphosate away and we decide what else can we do in fallow, there's limited other choices of things that we know that are effective for controlling knockdown feathertop Rhodes grass in fallow. One herbicide group which does have a reasonable useful activity is the Group A herbicides. These herbicides are effective against a lot of grasses, and feathertop Rhodes grass is also relatively susceptible to these Group A herbicides. So with any herbicide use that we're going to use anywhere, and fallow we're talking about here, we need to make sure we've got a product that's registered for that use to be legal and above board. You can go to the APVMA PubCris website and check for registrations in that situation. There's also, on that same website, we have the ability to check permits. If we're going to use Group A herbicides in fallow, there's a number of things we need to think about as to how we're going to use those herbicides. One of the issues we can have with them is they do have short residual life in the soil, and that can lead to some plant back issues, particularly if we're talking about planting a grass crop back into that situation. So in particular, we're thinking about sorghum in summer or into winter cereals if we use the herbicide in autumn. So again, check product labels gives you a pretty good indication of what will state what's the plant back label, the plant back constraints to the grass crops in particular. It's going to be generally in the period of a number of weeks, depending on which herbicide we're actually dealing with. One of the things we know about using Group A herbicides in fallow situations or in general is that these herbicides are very prone to resistance development. We haven't seen resistance in feathertop Rhodes grass to date, but we do know what's occurred with a number of other grass species, and we're using that as a pretty good guide to what's likely to happen with feathertop Rhodes grass. Generally, what we know about the Group A herbicides is that we can develop resistance in anything from 6 to 8 years from starting to use those herbicides in a program. So they're even more prone than what the glyphosate has been to develop resistance. So we've got to be really proactive where we're going to use them. So the key important thing to do in that situation is make sure that when we are going to use that herbicide, we use it in the best way possible, get the maximum out of that herbicide, don't abuse it, don't use it too often. And in the case of Group A herbicides, the best thing we can do to prolong the life of that herbicide is to double knock them.